is Gadi Elkan with Silig Film News here at the Dallas International Film Festival with the Emmy-nominated wonderful actor, Judge Reinhold. Judge, I've got to start things off. My brother hounded me when I told him, I'm going to be interviewing Judge Reinhold. He's like, from Stripes and the great team that was that, what was that experience like with, I mean, Ivan was behind camera.
Right. Cheech and Chong were supposed to do the movie. It was basically Cheech and Chong goes to the Army. I don't know what happened with Columbia. I don't know, but they moved on, and then Columbia, Warner Brothers, offered it to Bill. And then he said, yeah, I'll do it, but I want Harold Ramis to be my partner, very smartly, because Harold was, and for a long time, one of the top comedy writers there were. So what happened was they said, well, Harold doesn't seem like very big screen presence.
The glasses too and everything.
Yeah, and so Bill said, well, I don't care. And they said, well, can we screen test him? And he said, sure, why not? And so they screen tested Harold, and then the word came back. They talked to Bill, and they said, in the history of Warner Brothers, this is like the most unappealing screen test. Harold would not mind this. I mean, he would have told you this himself. Bill said, well, I'm not going to do the movie then. Okay, he's great, right? And so what would happen is they wrote themselves through the movie. Our lines were set and stuff, but the greatest stuff in the movie was we would block the scene for camera, and then Harold and Bill would go into the trailer and come up with all this wild stuff. You know,
that's got to be insane to watch it happening like that.
Oh, it was a very early movie for me. So, and it would have been the first time that I'd heard this stuff. So, yeah, I couldn't blow the take because I was kind of fuzzy in the background a lot of times. So I would put my hand in my pocket and squeeze really hard, to pinch myself so I wouldn't laugh. Because everybody ruined a take here or there. Even John Candy did, because it was just wild, Well, then, Lee Harvey, I want to party with you guys. That story about the dog? No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, literally, I guess it was a year later, Fast Times, that was your first kind of big breakout moment.
Yeah, I showed up in town in '79. The year after Animal House came out. So there was suddenly this whole new genre of National Lampoon type youth-oriented comedy that kind of morphed into Judd Apatow, bromance. Yeah. So it was lucky timing for me, because if you were young and could be funny, around that time, they were doing a lot of comedies. They were doing comedies like they were doing superhero movies now, So I got a lot of work pretty soon.
And you've had connections all the way to Judd. I mean, you guys had a film that was going to be made that was going to, have a lot of people, and I think Jason Segel was a part of it. And
oh yeah, gosh, Kevin Hart and January Jones, and we had an amazing cast. And it was a TV show. Mm. Oh, Amy Poehler was in it?
Yeah.
This is before all these people hit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a TV show. And what happened was, it was ABC ordered a half-hour show. And we improvised a lot. And it was funny stuff. So Judd cut it, and it was 45 minutes, which would have made it an hour show. And he said, I've got to have this hour. And sorry, it was NBC. NBC said, no, we just wanted a half-hour show. And so I don't know who walked first, but yeah, the pilot was great. And I couldn't believe the talent. Everybody was really funny, but I didn't know, what was going to happen. That's the second time this happened to me, because Fast Times was just like that. I was surrounded by people that were going to go on and do great stuff, and that pilot was amazing. Everybody went on to do stuff.
Well, you've always kind of been surrounded by really funny people. I mean, you're funny yourself, but
Thanks. No, it's okay. I'm a reactor. I don't think of myself as a straight man as much as a reactor. Okay, it's I think of a straight man as somebody who's not necessarily funny, but I can react off funny people, kind of. So
Does that make? I mean, I've always thought of you as like us in Screen, like, you know, when Eddie's doing his crazy stuff in Beverly Hills, you're us in the audience too. Like,
yeah,
you're the
that's
reactor
great.
part of it. Yeah,
That's great. Some people say there's two kinds of comic actors. There's the kind that say funny things, and then there's the kind that say things funny. And I'm the second part. The money is in the first, to say funny things. I say things funny, what's written, so that's what I do.
Wow. Well, I mean, being able to work with so many, I mean, the 80s, you were, I mean, it was like big comedian after big comedian.
Yeah.
What did you learn most from those
Sometimes
guys?
it was me.
Well, obviously, yeah. Well, I think you're recognized for those great moments. I mean, Fast Times, I mean, that's one of the classic sequences, the whole masturbation sequence. But, I mean, you're when you quit scene.
There were a lot of other good scenes in it.
Well, I mean, the quit scene, I think that's one of the most powerful, fun elements of the whole thing. Where you're just
Yeah,
like, I've had enough.
yeah, I don't know. I guess because, yeah, I prefer that scene. It's more empowering than humiliating.
Well, what's it like being like? Because like when like Seinfeld's given you, I mean, the Close Talkers kind of like that's impacted you as well. But that must have been such a fun experience with another series of fun comedian writers. I mean, Larry there, and I mean, Jerry's kind of
that was a peak experience. It was '94, and the show was just riding this tsunami, and everybody was happy, except Larry David, who's never happy. At least he doesn't show it. And so I showed up the first day, and he said, "Okay, 2 rules. 1, there's no hugging. I can tell you're a hugger. No hugging. The second rule is nobody learns anything. So don't approach the show like it's educational or there's some kind of sweet message. There's no message." And so then I hugged him.
That's wild.
Yeah, I hugged him really fiercely, and he didn't like it.
Shocking. Your jump back and forth film and TV, I mean, Arrested Development kind of sticks right in my head. But being able to jump, which is easier, which is harder, which do you prefer, or is it all the same for you as far as just jumping on sets?
It's all about the writing. The only thing about TV is the cut has got to be really tight because you're dealing with time. So if you come up with business, it better be brief. It's painful because you do come up with stuff like you do in movies, but there's just no time for it. So it's brutal. The edit is tougher in TV.
When you were on, because I remember the pilot for the O'Keeffes, and I love the pilot of O'Keeffes.
Oh.
Like, that show had something, but it obviously, I mean, it fell after like 5 episodes. The life of TV is nuts.
Yeah, I know. I've been through it. They developed that one to death. We had a stellar writing staff. We had the guy that had just finished Bruce Almighty, okay? And my wife and I, when we got the show, we were jumping up and down because the pilot was great. We had Andy Ackerman, who was one of the premier comic TV directors, and we were in a hit show. And then it was the CW. What the heck does that stand for? I don't know. It was just called the CW. Those guys demoralized the writing staff in no time flat. They said, "This is what we want." Suddenly it turned into a show that I hadn't signed on for. And so we just watched it develop into the ground. And I'm not bitter. I'm just saying that this is the kind of stuff that does happen. You really need a showrunner. Mark O'Keefe he's a brilliant comic writer, but he'd never produced a show before. He needed somebody to hold the hounds at bay and say, "Hey, this is great." You know,
affect this wonderful pilot we had.
Yeah, you always need somebody that they'll relax about, and not somebody that has already made the money and will help you the guy is his job is, or her job is to help you be left alone, because we had all the elements. So, and that's happened. I've had that happen a few times. Unfortunately, I've done 7, 8 episode orders, and they've gone south.
But that, I mean, obviously that's, I guess that's Hollywood, and that's the experience.
Development.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The people not on screen.
Well, the great John Sayles, the great indie writer director John Sayles said, "You either make it better or you make it different." I'm not here to make it different. I'm here to make it better. So that's great. And I think he's still a script doctor. That's how he financed his movies, was doctoring scripts. And so they'd tell him, this is what we want. And he would say, well, that's just different. It's not better. So there's a really important distinction. And I think that's important for indie filmmakers to know. If you have too many people, or even if you're the primary writer director, are you making it better or different? You know.
When you get a script, though, what do you read? What are you looking for? What pops to you?
Well, if it's a comedy, there's no lying about it. It has to be funny. If I laugh out loud, that's usually a big laugh. You know. If I kind of smile through it, then, well, if it's charming, that's okay. You know, but it'll be soft comically. But so there's that. I mean, with a comedy, it's either funny or it's not. But the main thing in both genres, dramatic or comedic, is how much you want to turn the page. It's that narrative drive. You know, is it cranking? How much do you want to know what happens? And the thing that turns me off, or turns everybody off, is when you start to see a derivative element. Usually that means that the writer got stuck and didn't work his way through it, and then went to things that you know right away as a reader, and the audience does too, when you're suddenly in a world that you've seen before. And usually, in my experience, that's when the writer either gets lazy or gets stuck and starts going to movies that he's seen and stuff like that, which is okay too. I mean, well, not for writers. I mean, it's probably better for directors to it's less obvious when directors steal things from movies, but writers. So anyway, to answer your question, if it starts to feel derivative, if it starts to feel like stuff I've seen before,
You got to be out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So you were kind enough to show us some awesome pictures of what you're working with Bruce.
Oh yeah, Bruce Campbell. Yeah.
Tell us about this project, because this is kind of different.
It's different for Bruce. It's a very funny role. It's called Highly Functional, and it does have a Rain Man element. I guess the core of it is very Rain Man-esque, but then it's its own movie after that. But it concerns a 20-something autistic, a young man, 20-something, who's autistic, and he has a caregiver. He's highly functional, but half of his world is magical thinking. You know, he has a part of his life. He can be very practical, but there's a part of his life that just doesn't know between fantasy and reality. So what happens is his caregiver has a heart attack. He's got heart disease, and he's maybe not long for the world. And so the young man goes in search of his caregiver's favorite rock star, because magically he thinks if he finds this rock star and brings him to the caregiver,
it'll bring
him back. And so it turns out that Bruce Campbell is the rock star, and he's seen better days, even though he doesn't realize he's not famous anymore, and he acts like he really is, but he's playing casinos and kind of some sad venues. So the kid tracks him down and has to actually kidnap him and I play Bruce's long-suffering manager, who is trying to just keep him from blowing gigs. You know, that he keeps saying, "Oh, I'm better than this," you know, and it's a tough road. It's a tough road. And then when he gets kidnapped and stuff, I try to find him. So I'm always like one step behind him, you know.
What's the Bruce Campbell experience like? Because he seems like just a crazy fun character.
He's inventive. He's really loose. I loved working with him,
Wow.
and I think it's one of his best performances. So.
Can't wait to get hold of it.
Yeah.
Because we've always seen you with the lovely hair. Was it always in the script?
It's
of all?
lovely, yes. oh yeah. No, I wanted. I really did want to go for something different.
This is your choice then.
Yeah, it was. It was because it was a real different character for me, and I've really in the indie work that I've been doing. Even if the stories are not this one, because I'm really proud of this one, but even if the stories are iffy, I want to diversify. So I'm using my work now to do what I was trained to do and play different roles, you know. So I really wanted to go the distance. So
Is he
I went
bald because of just the stress of dealing with Bruce's rock star guy?
No, it was just an idea of Harry wears bow ties, and it just seemed like it just seemed right to me that there's a lot of managers that don't look like they're in the business at all. Okay, you know, they're completely behind the scenes, and so that kind of gave me the idea.
It wasn't based on anyone, though, right? For you.
Yeah, it was based on a bunch of people.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, see, that the indie work gives me that opportunity.
That's really fun. Yeah. Keeps it insular, and you're getting to have a little bit of inside joke with yourself. But
No, I mean I get to play different roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking about interesting roles, you were kind enough to bring us a film for the festival that I think is going to be refreshing because was it 90 when you
It
shot
was
Danny?
1990.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that long ago, but
Tell us a little bit about this film for those that don't know it. I mean, I'm a UNT kid, so like it was shot in Denton, so I was
shot in
familiar
Denton
with
in
that.
1990, and it's the reason James Faust, the artistic director, wanted me to show it was it's very Texas centric. It was written by Del Shore, who's a very funny Texas writer, who wrote the play originally, and then Jack Fisk, who is married to Sissy Spacek and is quite on his own one of the finest art directors ever. He works with Terrence Malick, and
He was on The Revenant with those guys.
he's just Jack is brilliant, and so he directed the film. He's from Texas too, so and Sissy was there, and it was just a lot of Texans, and it does have an authentic. You can tell that a Texan wrote it, and I think it was a crowd pleaser. The funny thing about the movie is that we got great reviews in the screenings. It opened well, and then everybody at MGM, the whole executive staff got canned, not because of our movie. They just got fired. It was like a cabal, you know. It was like a coup. And so there was nobody there to mind our movie, and so they didn't keep up with it. It was doing good. There was just they pulled the promotion, so I was disappointed, and I'm very happy to show it, you know, because I think a lot of people missed out. So it's fun for me to show it.
It's a pleasure to have you here. You guys are kind enough to come in at the beginning of the festival. I know James was like, I think we're gonna have Judge at the end of the festival. But you guys were here from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, to meet Robert Benton.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, and to see Bonnie and Clyde on the screen. Absolutely. And
with Faye here and everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was. I remember this is what a film geek I am. At 10 years old, I somehow knew that Bonnie and Clyde was a game changer. I don't know. I mean, I played hooky to see The Godfather too, you know? I'd hop on a bus. I'd hop on a city bus. I'd split school. I had to go to school, right? Because my mom would drop me off or the bus would drop me off, and then I'd hop on a city bus, go downtown, and go to the Warner Theater in Wilmington, Delaware at first. And I'd see these movies, and I'd be the only one in there. And I watched Bonnie and Clyde when I was about 10, and I said, "Wow, this is different because of the violence." And Robert Benton, he was there, and he writes between the lines. You know, there's no exposition. It's amazing. He's an American treasure, really, with Kramer versus Kramer and Places in the Heart and so many other things. So that was exciting, and it was great to see the movie.
Yeah, I know when I got to talk to him, I brought up French New Wave.
Yeah.
And because he originally wanted Truffaut to do it, and he was like, "That's who I think could make this." And
wow.
And he was filming Fahrenheit, and it was like, I can't get him. And then Warren brought Arthur Penn, and history was made. So
how interesting.
It's crazy.
Because that is so much what the 70s was.
Yeah.
Is those guys watching that French wave and all those European movies and Antonioni and Truffaut, and that's why I think the 70s was the greatest American decade for films. Those are the films I wanted to make. Those are the films, and then I ended up in, hey, it's okay.
Well, your 80s run is still one of the greats, so.
Thank you.
I think
it wasn't what I had planned, but hey, I made the best of it, and I know it's not sexy to say, but I love to make people laugh. And it's been one of the pleasures of my life to stand in the back of a theater and see a big collective laugh, and to bring people that. It's, wow.
Well, thank you for making us laugh all these years.
Oh, thank you.
And it was an honor to interview Judge.
Thanks,
Thank you.
buddy. Thanks a lot.